Nano has notified its owner through a reminder that it is requesting immediate deployment of emergency defense mode. It immediately halted. You know, underestimation could easily lead to being overwhelmed. Yet you fail to utilize your internal power to resist. Your judgment is quite impressive. I am curious to see which pawn of yours dares to challenge my descendant. Surely, you understand why the old man sought you out last night. Indeed, this is the consequence of Namchen's arrogance in enjoying his position as the leader of the underworld. I am struggling to figure out what to do next. If there's any unusual behavior, it will be met with immediate consequences. Thane Pham also feels your youth, yet you remain remarkably calm facing death. It doesn't exhibit fear but rather resentment towards me. Why does this pawn need a lesson from you? As I finished speaking, I quickly repelled Namchen behind me, causing his body to collide with the stone wall, shattering it. Consequently, his body suffered internal injuries. Back Go then pulled him back for another blow to test his resilience. Despite this, Thane Pham's demo remains unchanged, his resentment towards the old man entirely intact. It's unimaginable how much it disdains him, willing to shatter Thane Truong Thane's body. If spared now, it will surely bring future calamity. Aren't you planning to break the Sect's rules and kill me here? Your stern words indicate that Bak Go intends to use poison to end me without leaving evidence. Just my disappearance from this underworld den will point the biggest suspicion towards the Venom Sect. Do you all intend to follow such strict orders from the Sect leader? But he reconsiders, as this isn't his territory. You're right, but I assure you of a moment outside this den. The old man will make it impossible for you to live or die harmoniously. I will crush your identity. Before you plead for mercy, I will release a toxin that will make Thane Pham sweat profusely. Suddenly, Bak Go whispers ominously that his departure is imminent. Before that happens, I will give your pawn a gift. It won't immediately end your life if you dare reveal the poison I just fed you. Regardless of the rules and suspicions within the sect, the old man can ensure your immediate demise. After saying this, he struck a blow to emphasize his anger. Bak Go promised to wait outside, expecting Thane Pham's graduation. Bitter although with his current strength, Namchen couldn't do anything. Both quickly closed the tunnel's entrance. The innkeeper spoke up. Did you keep your promise with me? Lai Ho Man looked worried. As promised, I only made Na suffer a little. I admit I acted a bit harshly, but I only caused internal injuries. So you needn't worry. The innkeeper, uncertain of the situation, sobbed. He reminded the Venom Sect leader of his promise not to harm Thane Pham during his 4 years in the underworld den. The old man will keep this matter confidential until it's time to meet King Yama. After speaking, he left without saying goodbye. Lai Ho Med pondered, considering the cave's entrance, where Namchen, the innkeeper, and the sect leader resided. He could only protect him from external threats for 4 years. After that, it's up to him. Thane Pham, trapped in the cave, struggling as the poison intensified. He urgently requested Nano to expel it from his body. However, the analysis system realized the toxic energy's effectiveness, stimulating his body like the venomous elixir. Bak Go's intention was to gradually weaken him, rendering him unable to pass the upcoming examinations. Despite its deep treacherous nature, how could Lai Ho Min imagine that the Nano was in Namchen's hands? Nano promptly removed the toxic elements from my body upon my request. It traced and expelled the toxins inside me immediately. Although the quantity was not substantial, the odor was quite pungent. Most of the disadvantages were eliminated, while the majority of the advantages of the toxicity had been retained. It had already circulated through my bloodstream, simultaneously forming an energy source that stimulated my meridians. Knowing this, I utilized my master's heavenly heart technique to regulate my internal energy. Gradually, I feel it emanating around my body. After a while, I could increase my internal energy from 60 years to 90 years. I felt that this was indeed the small gift the old man had mentioned. It made me wonder why someone from the Venom Sect dared to come all the way here. If it weren't for Nano, I would have faced a disaster by now. Still, everything this time is due to my own misjudgment. Perhaps I am fortunate to learn from my mistakes. But next time, I will definitely not be negligent. It's been 3 days without bathing, so the protagonist's clothes are starting to smell musty. I was planning to call for my subordinates to bring in some offerings when a gentle gust of wind whispered in my ear. Although it was very faint, it made me aware. Looking back, all I could see was a large wall behind me. Remembering being attacked earlier, there must be something special behind it. Thien Pham cautiously approached and tapped slightly to examine. Indeed, just a few taps revealed a stone wall. Calculating, I figured I'd have to dig a little deeper. Perhaps it would lead somewhere. After a while, I succeeded in squeezing through. On the other side, there was a spacious cave, or rather a passage, leading to somewhere else. Nano activates the surveillance mode for easier observation. If it secretly conceals something, it must be hiding a secret. My master noticed light deep in the valley, near the end of the tunnel. The rays grew brighter as we approached. Blinded by the brightness, I requested to disable the surveillance mode. I proceeded into a vast space, puzzled by what lay before me. Due to my curiosity, I jumped down below. To my surprise, this forbidden area was secured, but surely it must be an entrance to this place. If it's blocked like this, nobody else could use it. Below, there were many sudden marks, resembling drawn stone slabs. Upon closer inspection, they looked like stone tablets. Thinking of stone tablets, an idea popped into Thien Pham's head, prompting the system to recreate the image of the collective stone tablet on the first floor of the library. Seconds later, the transmission was completed, and I requested it to compare the sizes of these marks. Many animations were created for easier comparison. The marks here and the stone tablet on the first floor of the library were identical. Nano, recreate the stone tablet placed on the second floor of the library. Indeed, the position matches perfectly. I know immediately. This is where the original Thongot thatch tablets were placed in the library. I don't understand why these stone tablets were moved and not placed in the same location. Upon pondering, attention was drawn to the prominent inscription, Heavenly Demon Sword Technique. Mentioning these words immediately brought to mind the most powerful figure in the Venom sect, the sect leader, and the martial art that practitioners trained in, the Heavenly Demon Sword Technique. Anyone within the sect knows this, as it's famous as one of the top martial arts in the world. Thien Pham was vaguely unsure whether it referred to internal energy cultivation or swordsmanship. Could it be the story of Truong Ho Vi from the past? Recalling that the sect leader was the practitioner of the most powerful martial art in the sect, this might be the name of the ultimate sword technique depicted on the stone tablets in the library. Analyzing all of them, Nano recognized that the inscriptions were quite consistent. When they were on the first floor, a guard had mentioned that the stone tablet concealed the ultimate sword technique, which was the final achievement of the founder of the Venom sect, exactly the result that created the Heavenly Demon Sword Technique. Additionally, upon careful observation, the ink marks resemble ascending dragons. Upon closer inspection, it was unclear how these holes were related to each other. There are 24 holes, and the Heavenly Demon Sword Technique has 24 techniques, but I can't find any clear connections. They must signify something. Why do these holes form the shape of an ascending dragon? Suddenly, a certain idea flashed in Thien Pham's mind. He immediately paid close attention to what was in front of him. Above, a very bright light was shining down. Recalling the words of the Heavenly Demon Sword Technique's founder, secrets are not hidden in darkness, but are placed directly in the light. Anything left by people will not be easily accessible. But upon closer inspection, he immediately introduced Nano to adjust the light in the pupils. Sure enough, many dimensional stones appeared on the ceiling. Upon closer inspection, each stone had a very small inscription. Thien Pham was ecstatic to discover the hidden essence of the Heavenly Demon Swordsmanship Nano technique. Scan all the inscriptions on those dimensional pills. He implies the system. After scanning the dimensional pills, they began glowing brightly. Then they proceeded to reconstruct 3D images for easier viewing. Proactively, Thien Pham delved into understanding whether this revelation had any connection to martial arts techniques. A total of 24 dimensional pills were engraved with images and writings, highly likely aimed at creating martial arts techniques. Except for these 24 pills, Thien Pham struggled to erase everything else, focusing on the core discoveries. The images revealed martial arts techniques similar to vital energy techniques, but required channeling energy through specified meridians to execute them. After some contemplation, Thien Pham realized the techniques felt familiar. How could techniques in the Heavenly Demon Swordsmanship be so seemingly simple? In truth, they were marvelous. He decided to experiment further, synchronizing with Nano's transmitted data and adjusting his breathing to match the powerful energy flowing through his body. Following the main character's simple yet precise movements, Teen Pham found himself effortlessly executing the techniques, almost as if they were ingrained in his mind. His resolute posture appears natural, with his two disciples diligently guarding nearby. Despite feeling a bit drowsy, Teen Pham remained focused on practicing the techniques of the heavenly demon swordsmanship's founder. Lost in training fervor, Teen Pham overlooked everything else. Nano had spent considerable time training him, and despite 2 hours passing, he felt neither tired nor tired. In fact, his energy circulation seemed to quicken. Encouraged by this, he decided to test his techniques further. Instantly, his body radiated immense power as he concentrated his energy. If his speed remains constant, he could utilize techniques according to his will. Truly, the heavenly heart technique was unparalleled. Only when swordsmanship, knowledge, and heart techniques converged did he understand why it was called swordsmanship. Reflecting on this, Teen Pham expresses gratitude for the ancestral knowledge passed down. However, the situation outside was rapidly changing. Major players were being usurped by talented juniors, and the current situation favored the head of the host school. Reflecting on their own weaknesses, Teen Pham acknowledged that challenging the powerful factions like the Warring Heavens and Great Ho was risky. They needed to carefully strategize to avoid unnecessary conflicts. The atmosphere grew somber as Teen Pham's top disciple tried to console the group. Although they lost 2 potential allies, they gained a highly talented individual when Bok Kai joined. Without him, escaping their leader's captivity would have been challenging. Some expressed gratitude for the timely arrival of number 18, strengthening its strategic significance. Bok Kai, unaware of whether the main character would accept him after being released from captivity, considered it insignificant. "If the leader doesn't favor you, why bother seeking their help?" he remarked. After his comment, everyone seized the opportunity to train, knowing that tomorrow the big brother will be pardoned. Once they finished training, they ended up eating dinner, but Bok Kai didn't join them, leaving everyone regarding that he might leave for another faction. "We usually eat without waiting for dinner. Just go ahead," Ko Vuong can reassured them. Upon hearing this, he also considered skipping the meal. His reasoning was that now Bok Kai temporarily held the position of temporary leader. He had to accompany him for protection. "Don't worry too much. I'm just going to train individually," he assured them. "Besides, when we return to the dormitory, we'll all be together. Just go ahead and eat." The other 4 didn't know what to do next. Hu Jing and Hu Bong hesitated, unsure of their roles. Eventually, they decided to follow Bok Kai's lead and protect Jack Cop. While they discussed, both Hu Jing and Hu Bong realized they wanted to have a say. Afterward, they both ran after Bok Kai. Curious, number 18, Hu Jing suggested, "Maybe we should skip one meal. It won't kill us. Since you're currently our temporary leader, wherever you go, we'll follow. We don't know who needs protect at this point." Considering their concerns, Bok Kai proposed they all waited together until Teen Pham returned. Finally, they arrived at the place for individual training. Bok Kai reminded both of them to sit outside and wait until the training was over before leaving. Suddenly, he noticed something. The sound of footsteps loudly, rapidly approaching. Hu Jing and Hu Bong, still in a daze, couldn't comprehend what was happening until they realized the unexpected turn of events. The remaining martial artists were about to come in, all 3 of them looking at the group with swords ready. "It must have been a planned ambush against us for a while." One person stepped out from the crowd, none other than the leader of the 7th clan, Ha Lam Mid Bok. He knew immediately that this group had ulterior motives. The former members were mocking, suggesting that number 18 was a coward for leaving the clan to join another group. Hearing this, he chose not to respond directly but instead exclaimed loudly, "What are you all playing at?" Lam Min smirked, truly unaware of their intentions. "Why, what is your purpose?" Bok Kai replied, "To reclaim your clan's honor. Do you think we'll listen to you? If not, we'll show you what real struggle is." Despite feeling a bit guilty, Bok Kai couldn't condone such dirty actions. Just as he contemplated, he quickly disarmed 2 members of the old clan, not waiting for their surprise to fade. Bok Kai attacks initiated on the hesitant old members, who now seemed unsure and surprised. Some stood still while others began to fight back. Ha Lam Min noted opponents of equal caliber among them, not fully honed in their skills yet but reaching the peak like himself. Bok Kai managed to push them back, advising his two friends to seize the opportunity and escape. Realizing the situation, Hope-kin and Hoon-kin didn't hesitate anymore. They fled along with other disciples of Thien Pham. Meanwhile, Bak-kai and his companions stopped, realizing that they were about to be cornered. The Segin group didn't seem to tire. Their relentless pursuit worried Hope-kin. He urged Bak-kai to hand over the card quickly. Without further thought, Bak-kai compiled. The next task for Hope-kin was simply to flee, conserving energy. Each of them took a different path to make it easier to handle if caught. They knew they couldn't let the situation escalate. Otherwise, their clan would be in ruins. The scene changed rapidly as they approached their destination. The curses faded away, replaced by an anxious silence. Hope-kin halted, checking if they were still being followed. His worried gaze revealed that there was no one left behind, except for the card chasers. They had followed Hope-kin and were now trapped. Bak-kai found his comrades within Cove Womcat's abode, preparing and recuperating. Seeing the astonished expressions of his comrades, Bak-kai realized they didn't understand the situation unfolding before them. Hope-kin lay exhausted, confirming that the pursuers had successfully obtained the card. A familiar laughter echoed, unmistakably Thien Hu Thien. Following his cue, the other three rushed to Hope-kin, slightly concerned upon seeing the young master's distracted state. Although their numbers were not large, everyone was prepared to fight until the last man. If anyone dared to interfere, Hu Thien's mocking tone would rise again. So, we have another person trying to interfere, do we? Bak-kai quickly lowered his voice and urged his brothers to remain calm. They're not the ones causing trouble. Hu Thien is trying to lure me back to his side because the card is lost. Don't rush, let's think this through. Despite the temporary relief, martial artist 18 still refuses any help. Take your time to think. Time is still on our side, said Cove Womcat, relieved that there was no physical altercation. He inquired about his teammates' injuries, to which Hope-kin replied, "It's not deep, but I've lost the card to Hu Thien." He's got Hope-kin by his side now, his voice tinged with sadness and regret for the entire group's plight. Cove Womcat wanted to hear more details. What happened, Bak-kai? Please, tell us. Bak-kai recounted the incident, while Hope-kin, still exhausted, nodded along. I was so focused on running that I didn't notice the stairs ahead. I stumbled and fell, and before I could recover and run again, I was overwhelmed in a moment by over 20 martial artists. They subdued me in an instant. He struggled to continue as it was apparent that Hu Thien's group was far more numerous and powerful. While he was at the peak of his martial prowess, facing multiple opponents made it difficult for him to seize the opportunity. The seventh clan leader began to contemplate how to deal with both situations at once. However, at that moment, Thien Hu Thien's voice echoed from somewhere. That person is a talent I admire. Can you give him to me? Don't interfere in others' affairs. It was evident that this young master had the power to intimidate. He continued, taunting those blocking the way, then went straight to Ha Lam Min. Do you think gathering a bunch of useless people will make you stronger? Do you still want to continue? Although his words were light, they instilled fear in the villain. Eventually, dozens of martial artists withdrew. At that moment, Bak-kai expressed sincere gratitude to Thien Hu Thien for his assistance. Now that the card is lost and hard to retrieve, do you think I should join your clan, or what do you suggest? Until Cove Womcat and the others rushed over, Bak-kai couldn't understand why that person had called him. Is it because of the position of the junior leader? That's not important now. The issue is we have no other choice. Even if Hu Dan suggests gathering others to reclaim it together, it won't work. People will join for their own interests, not to serve as soldiers. If we are loyal to our leader, then we must fulfill the duties of subordinates. If there seems to be no way, and we wait for tomorrow, how can we not find disciples willing to follow the leader's ideals and gather them? After listening, his mood began to shift, mixing with a sense of frustration. It's not like I said anything excessive, said Cove Womcat, laughing. You're right. How can we blindly trust and expect our leader? If a subordinate is excellent, we must assist the leader with all our abilities. You're truly the #1 subordinate. If it wasn't for your words, we would have felt hopeless and waiting for the leader. Now, the group has regained its spirit and is trying to figure out how to retrieve the card. The next morning, it was the day Thien Pham was released. Lam Bin hurriedly checked, fearing that the main character might die inside. Upon reaching the closed forbidden gate, he announced, "Today is the last day of Thien Pham's punishment. So please open it. Seventh martial artist, Thien Pham, you have finished your punishment." Thien Pham remains calm, meditating without showing any excitement, awaiting the gaze. Now, the expressions of those present were sharp as they didn't recognize the person who had been imprisoned for 7 days. This indicates a significant change. "Why aren't you wearing clothes?" Lam Bin asked bluntly as he moved closer, but the other person had already gone inside to check. It's strange why he's so focused on that. Surely there must be something hidden behind it. Because he found nothing unusual, he could descend the mountain. In reality, the protagonist had filled the small path to enter the cave of the demonic sect founder with stones. The first thing he asked Lam Bin was how many cards were left. "The only remaining one is in the hands of Ho Che Truong. Indeed, other factions have already obtained that important item," he said. "As far as I know, that's not the only way. If you want to regain the card, the simple way is to snatch it from other martial artists. I really don't want to do that," Thien Pham said sincerely. "My disciple wishes for you to take him to the place of the demonic sect leader," Lam Bin said, implying the collaboration with the strongest among the sect leaders in the demonic realm. "Don't be arrogant. It's better to do what you can do rather than being unreasonable. I know you're in a hurry, but you need to be careful." Thien Pham thanked Lam Bin for his valuable advice. "If it's beyond your capabilities, my disciple will accept defeat during the match. Listen carefully. If you participate halfway, it will be difficult to give up. I'm just afraid he doesn't know that. Where's the hand of compromise? But if he's determined, then I truly have no other choice. However, it's best to avoid getting injured as much as possible because there might not be another chance." Thien Pham was very determined to make this happen. He clasped his hands in gratitude for the advice that Lam Bin had given him. At this moment, his top subordinate was trying to recruit other martial artists, but it didn't seem to be going smoothly. "Are you crazy to say that?" Pham asked. Indeed, nobody seemed interested in joining his group at the moment. 4 individuals had backed out of joining recently, but that didn't discourage him. "Maybe I need to find a few more," he thought to himself. The training ground was bustling with martial artists gathered around. Pham halted to observe the commotion. "What are they talking about?" he wondered. As he got closer, his eyes broadened in surprise. The mortal fairy had been waiting here for the grand head of the sect to arrive, preparing for a battle that many had also knew about the challenge. Later, the political figure emerged, appearing very pleased when he saw the protagonist because he had been eagerly expecting testing his skills for several days. The 7th martial disciple, Thien Pham, met with the grand head at the dragon's lair, not having seen each other for 5 days, as he had been confined in the forbidden cage. "You've been through a lot of these past days. So are you planning to use the wood sword or fight barehanded?" His intention was clear. The wood sword was a clear challenge. Although they had just met again, Thien Pham remained silent but inwardly worried about the grand head's well-being. After the inquiry, without further delay, the grand head's posture and movements resembled those in his fight with the white killing man. He appeared afraid due to the terrifying aura. Even though Thien Pham was the 7th martial disciple, he couldn't possibly match him. In fact, this punishment had taught him a lot. Gaining support from everyone required a reversal of the situation. "Let's go. I'll ask you to attack first," said the grand head. Then, a few disciples could provide guidance for him. Thien Pham and the grand head exchanged glances, a bit hesitant. Thien Pham took a breath to bolster his confidence and immediately charged towards his opponent. His speed surprised the grand head, but then his sword key appeared, held firmly in his palm. Indeed, it was a moment of repentance as he learned all the techniques of the political figure. Seeing the martial disciple's strength, the grand head also revealed his determined face. Their clashes were like sharp swords colliding, quick and precise. The protagonist skillfully parried the opponent's staff. "What's this? It's not a decisive sword but a challenging one," he thought. Gradually, the initiative was shifted to Thien Pham. They struggled fiercely, unexpectedly breaking the 7 devil swords formation. Thien Pham had to adapt and change tactics, knowing he couldn't defeat him head-on. This was what he had expected. After some thought, the grand head spoke up, realizing his opponent's true strength, decided to elevate his power slightly to make the battle more enjoyable. Indeed, Tian Pham was also surprised by the fourth form of the seven devil swords, which emerged unexpectedly. The illusions were more precise than ever. Despite this, the Grand Head managed to execute his techniques from the first to the fourth forms simultaneously. The martial disciples praised them, but they remained focused on finding openings. This time, Tian Pham demonstrated a strange sword technique, the fairy demon sword art, which he had applied practically, leaving many stunned observers. The sword techniques between the seven devil swords and the fairy demon sword art create a spectacular scene. Both were focused and had no openings. Unlike the previous match between the martial disciple and the Grand Head, the situation suddenly changed when the protagonist introduced some unfamiliar sword moves, leaving the political figure puzzled. Resorting to defensive tactics, however, he couldn't withstand a sudden burst of energy and the sword ki that knocked him back. It was a well-prepared embedded trap in the body of each martial disciple standing around. Tian Pham immediately stopped without attacking further. The political figure looked confused, quite satisfied to recognize the seven devil swords, the technique preserved on the stone tablets. His opponent's gaze had changed alarmingly. His body emitted a growing aura of power. Tian Pham was on guard again, knowing the battle wasn't over yet. At this moment, something unexpected happened. The internal energy of the Grand Head gradually disappeared. Although he seemed ready, for some reason, he didn't want to fight anymore. Tian Pham also realized why he suddenly withdrew his sword ki. "Truly, you've surprised me," he said. "Your words are fitting, Tan Hu, Tan Hu." Then the Grand Head willingly handed over a badge pinned to his chest. "I never expected our sect to produce such a formidable talent." Thus, the key to passing the third examination was now in the hands of the protagonist. Today, the Grand Head officially admitted defeat to the seventh martial disciple. "This badge is yours, and you are fully qualified to be the head of the sect," he said in disbelief. "I truly appreciate your victory." The martial disciples, although not fond of him, still cheered for his remarkable talent. After receiving the reward, suddenly, Hobong appeared and greeted the final master. "I've been waiting for you to return," said Tian Pham, feeling a bit puzzled. "I've made you all worried," the political figure said, feeling very pleased that his subordinate followed the protagonist so faithfully. Then Bok Kai also rushed over, attracting attention because no one understood what he was up to. "What's he trying to do?" wondered the crowd as he seemed hesitant. Could something important be happening? The actions of martial disciple number 18 now replaced Tian Pham's words. It was still unclear what attitude his opponent and his number one follower had. "Why are you doing this?" Bok Kai asked, somewhat puzzled. Then he continued, "I want to thank Tian Kong Tu for saving martial disciple number 18 from the poison of the venomous clan. My life was saved by him and the other martial disciples. Now I understand why he was imprisoned in the forbidden cage." Tian Pham thought. "How noble," he said out loud. The crowd murmured, impressed by Bok Kai's respectful tone. Kung Kok exclaimed, saying, "Very well done. Although your words were a bit clumsy, martial disciple number 18 listened to you and managed to gain entry to the Seven Lost Sons group." Inside the office, Lam Bin inquired about the political figure's current mood after handing over the badge to the martial disciple. "That kid has enough power to deserve the victory sword technique," he said. "It's amazing, but it's probably due to the teachings of his master. If he's a master of scene transformation, then it's possible." Lam Bin knew the protagonist's true strength, but he was only a master of swordsmanship. How could he teach sword techniques to his disciples? They stopped chatting temporarily as each had something to do. Li Huamin had been observing the contest from the rooftop. The political figure went up to greet him, thinking that the earlier incident might have been influenced by the innkeeper. If he didn't convey the message to his subordinates, he might have trouble controlling himself. Tian Pham thought. Facing such a sword technique, anyone would have conflicts within themselves. As a young man, he had participated in hundreds of battles with both righteous and evil factions, so there were no shortage of times when he fought side by side with his sect leader. The innkeeper was the one who truly understood his sect leader's sword technique, and the heavenly demon sword were almost identical. Contrary to his words, his sword technique seemed even more terrifying than the heavenly demon sword technique. The heavenly demon sword technique was the supreme martial art handed down by the sect's leader hundreds of years ago. It was surprising to hear that the protagonist had mastered it. Could it have found the true essence of the late Sect founder's life engraved on the green jade stone tablet? He thought. I've been there several times, but I couldn't recognize anything beyond the tablet. Tian Pham said. The political figure was about to speak up and ask more questions, but he was stopped. You should keep this hidden for now. Don't tell anyone, Tian Pham advised. Indeed, the innkeeper has the same thoughts as me. Let's consider this its destiny, he continued. Downstairs, several other martial disciples, out of admiration, had come over to Tian Pham's place. Ho Shlom Ho, a female member of the ghostly sect, also spoke up. I heard the story of how the disciple is willing to sacrifice himself for his followers, which moved me deeply. Knowing that the disciple only accepts talented people, regardless of gender or sect, I am willing to offer my life to pledge my loyalty to him forever. Seeing the woman within the heart of Ko Vuong Cave, there was a hint of starry-eyed expression on Tran Quoc's face. He came running from somewhere to request entry into the group and also promised eternal loyalty. Despite his medieval martial arts skills, he believed he could improve over time. But it was your heart always thinking of me that I valued the most. Upon hearing this, it deeply moved Tian Pham. Everyone observed the same expression reminiscent of eagerness when they first joined. Ko Vuong Cave knew they were short on people now, but because they had regained their reputation, they were somewhat reassured. However, Naman realized there was no one left, wondering where the others had gone. Our leader suggested finding a temporary quiet place for discussion. Then they recounted the entire situation from when he was imprisoned to the encounters with Hung Thien and Ho Dan Min outside. They found it difficult to leave, hearing that Vian Dat and Jia Hu Dan were struggling to recruit others. It was truly a hardship for the two. When I don't see Ho Kin, I still inquire about him, but perhaps no one dares to fully speak out about that matter. Could there be something else happening? Why suddenly reveal the incident of being punished to the extent of having to go to the White Tavern lying down? I also know the main culprit is the cunning Ha Lam Min. Seeing his lord being released, his demeanor has improved significantly. Perhaps he no longer considers actions without weighing the consequences. What does the lord think about Ha Lam Min's actions this time? Tian Pham understands that the martial artist competing for reputation is wrong, but in the evil sect, such actions are allowed. Everyone in the gang cannot forgive his actions, so I will also seek justice for my brethren. I will reclaim righteousness, straightforwardly declared to my subordinates, whatever that scoundrel owes us, he will definitely have to repay it exactly like that. Bak Kai knows that even if he stays in the Forbidden Cave for 5 more days, the Lord's temperament will not change. At that time, Thien Hu Thien's group was encountering another group. We followed the young master's order to incite Ha Lam Min to seize Bak Kai's reputation plate. So are you representing Vu Bin's gang? He has suffered internal injuries and is now in the Bai Tavern, so I understand on behalf of him. Are you afraid I won't keep my promise, aren't you? As he spoke, he took out the valuable reputation plate from his pocket. I will keep my word. But haven't you fulfilled that agreement yet? How come you promised to help me capture Bak Kai? Why is he not here now? In the end, what do you want to satisfy to be able to capture Bak Kai? Let him taste more desperation. The more, the better. Let him feel the pain. Eventually, he will come to me. Upon reflection, you are truly pitiful. Unable to keep your gang leader in check. Then the young master of the Dao Ma sect called his subordinates to assign tasks. I will give you a chance to redeem yourselves immediately. What is the intention of the young master? Bring all the martial artists here to deal with Bak Kai. On the way, Tian Pham fought to seize the reputation plate for me. I hope you won't make the same mistake as last time. His intention was to let Lim Fa have the reputation plate and become the gang leader of the others. It would be easier for him to recruit more followers in the future. As the training ground was crowded, the cheers of other martial artists resounded. A few of them belonged to Ha Lam Min's gang, who were practicing swordsmanship. Then Lin Fa's group rushed over, intending to find that despicable gang leader. Facing familiar faces, Ha Lam Min also recognized their expressions. Those people over there didn't join us in attacking Bak Kai last night, did they? Why don't you hurry up and tell me what's going on? What's the matter? As you can see, I don't have the golden reputation plate. If I want to pass the third exam, I need to have it. Knowing the intention is to seek assistance, Lam Min directly rejected it because he was busy training. Then Lin Fa hinted at wanting to seize the reputation plate from Tian Pham, whose eyes brightened just at the mention of the name. I have personal grudges with him, so I'm quite angry. Thanks to him, I've endured enough suffering. If we continue to snatch the reputation plate from Thien Pham's gang, won't they disband? Who would follow someone who lost the reputation plate for the second time? If it could be done, won't he be naturally eliminated from the third exam? Indeed, Ha Lam Min and I have the same intention, but his talent is very limited. Finally, these two stubborn guys teamed up to defeat the main enemy. Isn't it exciting? Thank you for agreeing to work with me. We'll start now. Ha Lam Min was delighted as he kept pushing the issue of Thien Pham tripping some members of his gang. But in fact, he had already taken action against others before those two groups had gathered. They assembled their men and went to find Thien Pham's group. At this moment, his gang was still deeply engrossed in discussion from afar. Lim Fa's loud voice followed by those of many martial artists holding wooden swords. Don't hide up there on the hill like mice anymore. Naman Chin was very satisfied with Ha Lam Min's appearance. I was worried about how to find you. Thank God you brought yourself here. Do you know what situation you're in? And you're still there nagging, not knowing who you're dealing with. Come here. Cat Iron has requested Lin Fa and Ha Lam Min to lower their weapons and surrender. Only then did the two realize the problem. All the other martial artists have clearly shown their attitudes. Now let me ask you again. Thien Pham raised his voice. Your gang spoke earlier about who the fool is now. To be specific, let's go back 4 hours ago to the training grounds behind Vu Bin Hak's gang. When you were planning to retrieve the reputation plate, Cat Iron was concerned about you going alone. Is it really okay for you to go alone like this? No worries, because they requested me to come alone. While this group of mine is struggling with their choice, there's only one reputation plate, but there are 20 members in the gang. For the common interest, the gang leader has no choice but to intend that whoever is strong after obtaining the reputation plate will stay, while the weak ones must leave, replied Vu Bin Hak. Cat Iron, on the other hand, was anxious about involving Bok Kai in the transaction with Thien Hu Thien. Vu Bin Hak promised that once he became the gang leader, he would definitely give him a worthy position. While preparing to leave, Thien Pham appeared and saw his worried expression. What are you afraid of when you see me here? This time I won't go alone, but with my loyal subordinates, he said. Regarding the story Cat Iron mentioned earlier, Bok Kai also overheard it. Why did you bring me here for a transaction? Why do these former gang members look scared? Cao Vuong Cat will surely seek revenge because some of his comrades were ambushed last night. They are now afraid because they couldn't retaliate against Bok Kai, and Thien Pham is even scarier, like a monster. Vu Bin Hak scolded his subordinates. You guys are fools. We have more people. Why should we be afraid? Then turning to Thien Pham, he planned challenging. Why don't you come out and face me if you dare? You were to attack, weren't you? But Thien Pham silently prayed that this time his strike must be moderate, aimed at weakening him. He struck Vu Bin Hak with a punch, which although overconfident, was too strong, causing him to bleed. It was clear that his strength had diminished, but he still looked stunned enough that the opponent's body flew far away from where the gang members stood. They were shocked to see their gang leader knocked out in just a moment. Seeing the gang leader defeated, Cat Iron's face turned pale. The leader was already paralyzed after assuming the position. Now his body was lying motionless on the ground, trying to shake him. It seems that Thien Pham has gone too far. It's time for him to stop, Cat Iron said. But Vu Bin Hak was too angry to listen to anyone anymore. He didn't care about what Cat Iron said and continued to approach. Is beating a helpless person like this not satisfying for you? He sneezed. Believe me, I will make them pay for this. I have something to ask you. Do you still believe in the deal with Thien Hu Thien? Cat Iron seemed hesitant, not entirely sure. If what you said is true, do you think will he give us the reputation plate? It's not clear if he promised us like that. But considering that your gang has 20 members, wouldn't 2 plates be enough? Indeed, Cat Iron secretly concealed it very carefully. After hearing it, the other martial artists ran up to scold because acting like this was no different from forcing the remaining people to find a new haven. You're only being used by him. After finishing the job, you'll be separated again. You won't be as you were before. His intention is to cause internal strife with just 1 reputation plate. Of course, if that happens, everything will fall into chaos. As Thien Hu Thien had planned, the crowd murmured. Realizing the sinister plot of the young master of the Dao Ma sect, they stir up a commotion. So, you only know how to be angry but can't do anything to him, huh? If that's the case, then you should seek revenge on the one who manipulated you, they shouted. Turning back to the present situation, Cat Iron questioned, What are you doing, Lin Fa? Do you think you can continue to exploit us after using the reputation plate as a guarantee for yourself? Do you still consider us fools easy to manipulate? Lin Fa began to explain. I think we might have misunderstood. It seems like someone is trying to sow discord among us. However, the rift within the group was already apparent. What a wretched fellow, lacking the competence to seize the badge of honor from the supreme leader of the sect, yet resorting to skulking and fleeing like a cowardly dog. He even had the audacity to ambush us last night, then had the nerve to accuse us of betraying Ha Lam Min. His face twisted in panic after being accused of theft and fleeing like a dog. If you were so skilled, why did you sneak away last night? Indeed, the scheme to provoke the followers of the late Vuong Cat has been quite successful. Looking at Thien Pham's concern, he must be wondering how to salvage his dignity. But now, there's no way to save face. Should I flee alone? But if I leave my subordinates behind, who will heed my commands in the future? It would be a disgrace if Lin Fa fails to fulfill his duty. He'll be kicked out by the master, Cat Iron. Perhaps we've misunderstood something. Could it be that you don't trust your own son to directly recruit your subordinates? But now that you've fallen into this Lyran trap, it's hard to say. In that case, could you give us 2 badges of honor? If you want all 19 people here to become your subordinates, won't you need 2 badges of honor? Lin Fa himself is just a windbag. He doesn't dare promise anything to Cat Iron. Then he promised to propose to the master to extend his welcoming arms to your house. What kind of proposal is that? It's just gibberish to keep you calm. Whether the master accepts it or not is none of his concern. Your proposal is quite appealing, but let's see if you can withstand it. From behind, Thien Pham raised his sword to sneak attack, to see if you could withstand my assault. Lin Fa was started and promptly dodged downwards, narrowly avoiding the attack. Ha Lam Min, seeing this, also jumped in to assist his ally. Thien Pham tightly grasped his wooden sword, then crushed it into 100 pieces. His gaze was sharp, directed straight at him. Ha Lam Min couldn't believe it. Was this guy's internal strength enough to break his sword, or what? Just as he thought about it, a strike came from behind, targeting him. Bak Kai also intervened without warning. The body of this person was thrown far away due to the extreme pain, only managing to groan a few times, looking forward with clenched teeth as if wanting to devour his opponent. Your opponent is me. New hatred, old resentment, settle at once and for all. How dare you suddenly sneak attack me when my old wounds haven't healed yet? Ha Lam Min realized he had fallen into a trap. His fate was sealed. It was too late to run. Many martial artists cried out in fear, quickly fleeing, not wanting to get involved. Lin Fa was at his wit's end, unable to fight anyone in Thien Pham's group. To escape, he had to fight through the 12 members of the first group. Ha Lam Min turned back to rally his men to regain their fighting spirit, but Bak Kai didn't give him the chance. Fight with me. Where are you going? He had to suffer because he couldn't fight back. Vuong Cat reminded everyone that now was the time to avenge their grudges from yesterday. Ho Bong also determined to seek justice for Ho Ken, who was injured at Wai Quan. Ho Duong Ho and Tran Quoc Vai, new recruits, also wanted to make an impressive debut with the sect leader. Vuong Cat yelled out to signal a simultaneous attack on the weaker opponents, relying on their numerical advantage. Lin Fa was now too confused to retreat and unable to progress, while Bak Kai was too overwhelming. Ha Lam Min was kicked without any resistance, truly dying. Now what should I do? There's no other way. If I resist more, the situation will only get worse. If I have already lost, then I only have one option left, the one I'm thinking of right now, to kneel and beg for forgiveness from your 7th young master. What are you doing, your subordinates? The outcome has been decided, so I sincerely concede defeat, hoping you, as the merciful sect leader, will forgive my mistakes. That's what I say outwardly, but in my mind, I'm brewing all sorts of schemes for revenge against you. You say I must show tolerance and magnanimity. Must I surrender? Why should I accept the surrender when there's no need to? If I didn't want to fight, why did I act like that? It makes no sense to fight and then surrender when unable to win. What kind of good fortune is this? Lin Fa continues to apologize for his despicable actions, but Thien Pham couldn't forgive him. Tugging his hair, he forcefully slammed Lin Fa's head to the ground. Lin Fa couldn't resist the overwhelming force. Many who were fighting stopped to watch, amazed at the sight. Blood spurted out as one guy erupted in anger. If you're willing to gamble, then you must be willing to pay up. No way to forgive now, no more crying. I haven't even started yet. With that, he delivered a punishment for his sneaky and backstabbing ways. After a while, the flattering tone was replaced by curses. Do you think our young master will let you off lightly after you tortured me like this? You say Thien Hu Thien won't spare me, don't you? Lin Fa thought his master was the strongest in the devil's den, so he spoke confidently, but that didn't scare Thien Pham. I appreciate your advice. I almost forgot about Thien Hu Thien. Now Lin Fa understands what it means to be the leader of a demonic sect. If even he does this, what about that insignificant Dao Ma sect? The protagonist continues to press down on his head to remind him who was the strongest here. With a few blows, his body became immobile, groaning a few times before passing out. That was all it took. If I exert a bit more force, your head will crack. Turning to his subordinates, they had successfully subordinated Ha Lam Min's group. Everyone trembled in fear at the sight of Thien Pham's approach. Ho Bom reminded the leader that the seventh member of the group was being interrogated in a corner. Despite being dazzled, his expression didn't show submission. He couldn't speak because he had been acupunctured, and Thien Pham didn't need him to speak. He continued to demonstrate his authoritative manner. Ha Lam Min sweated in fear, his arm lifted, pointing to his first joint, a sharp pain shot straight to his chest. Unable to speak, he could only moan repeatedly. Seeing this scene, Doyen's group felt pain too. Why not add another finger? Just as he said, he continued to twist the joints, showing the same mercy Ho Kai received yesterday. If Lin Fa's offer is accepted, I fear the outcome will be the same. They were a crowd disenchanted by the brutal behavior of the protagonist. Ha Lam Min still showed no sign of submission. Suddenly the blood vessels on his body swelled, his pupils turned a demonic color. His eyes sparkled with resentment, full of hostility. Thien Pham started paying attention to the leader. He couldn't believe that even though he had been acupunctured, he could still move. Be careful behind you, Ho Bom shouted loudly. Ha Lam Min's body now looks like a demon. Hearing the growl, he turned back, but the protagonist had approximately quickly, and before he knew it, he heard Ho Bong scream. At the same time, Thien Hu Thien's group was diligently practicing. He had successfully learned the Seven Devils Sword technique in 12 forms, but it seemed that there were many things he was not satisfied with. I consulted the second half of the Seven Devils Sword manual, but the techniques were all clumsy. The group members had mastered the highest level of skill, but the final step of combining the techniques was too confusing. Perhaps I need to calm down and reread the secret book to see if I missed anything. When you see what's written in the book being displayed, how do you feel? Do you think our sword formation is being constructed correctly? The martial artists in the dual sword sect were just scratching their heads, not understanding anything. No problem if you don't recognize it. It's not an issue. When the subordinates saw everyone wielding the same sword without forming a sword formation, in my eyes, this sword technique felt very ordinary. Indeed, Thien Hu Thien shared the same thoughts as he listened to his subordinates' concerns. The ones sent to deal with Thien Pham have returned. Many members of the protagonist group have passed out. Who are you all? Stop there. Our young master is Lin Fa. Why do your faces look like that? Who are you behind him? Finally, who are you? The first to check was Ha Lam Min, the young leader showing great curiosity and suspicion. Other members also threw their questions for the master to verify, including Vuong Cat and Bok Kai. How come they're all Thien Pham's subordinates? Could it be that this masked person is Thien Pham? Without Ha Lam Min, the subordinates couldn't have succeeded, as he had fallen into a state of blood magic, causing a sudden change in the battle formation. This is the method to rapidly increase internal strength in a short period of time, yet it is also forbidden to use in sorcery because its side effects are terrible. Light usage causes the loss of rationality, while heavy usage can lead to self-destruction through excessive internal force. Nevertheless, you've already endured a lot. Honestly, I didn't expect much from you before sending this guy to Waiquan. but perhaps I should have been more cautious. Anyway, just as I was saying, he used his sword energy to strike a few times. As a result, tendons in his legs and arms were all severed, the cruelty no less than that of a demon. However, I haven't destroyed your cultivation foundation, so your right hand still functions smoothly, even though it's numb. Why are you so afraid? Why could you commit such a moral degrading act? Thien, when finished, wanted to see the face of his opponent, but he quickly covered it with a piece of cloth. Perhaps due to his haste, his gaze was bewildered. Lin Fa was already troublesome enough. Now he's labeled as a cripple. He turned back to the one who brought the corpse back with an angry expression, but as he stuck his head out, a fist came flying towards him, hitting his face so hard that it nearly pushed it inward. No one was prepared for what happened, as it happened in the blink of an eye. Are you insane, Lin Fa? What are you doing? Vu Kim was about to speak, but the hostess ran over, trying to punch him. Although not as powerful as the Lord, as he managed to catch it, his body was still thrown far away. Indeed, this was a deep plot that these people hadn't yet realized. Are you still unconscious? Now that everything is settled, everyone can relax a bit from their roles. You deceitful bunch, dare to fool us. After cursing, No Lan didn't see the Lord Thien anywhere. Wait, if he betrayed us, Lin Fo will probably take out all the disciples, right? It's clear that everyone has been prepared for this. Tran Dai, pointing at Lin Fa, accused him of being a deceitful troublemaker. Seriously, why did you trust him? It seems I've done something useless, Thien Pham said, pulling down his cloth. Now you all understand the purpose behind the recent events. Everything was orchestrated by the protagonist. In fact, Thien Pham had already dealt with everything before. Ha Lam Min was still struggling for revenge. Due to the chaotic situation, the Lord's mental state had changed to a terrifying degree. Bak Kai ran over to assist, striking his opponent in the face, but it seemed to have no effect. Instead, he was pushed back by Ha Lam Min's counterforce, possibly because he was about to fall into a state of demonic possession. The other guy abandoned his target and rushed towards Bak Kai, but Thien Pham intercepted him. He showed no fear as he lifted the man's body high, leaving his teammates puzzled as to how he was subdued so quickly. It's strange that his martial arts skills are so advanced. When his body hit the ground, Ha Lam Min, still in a frenzy, felt no pain. Now, Thien Pham was poised in midair, preparing for his final blow. With the momentum and strength, he descended rapidly. A loud noise reverberated throughout the forest near the demonic sect. At this point, Ha Lam Min's face probably needed some cosmetic surgery to be recognizable technique due to the blood demon. His body was tougher than usual. He probably couldn't die yet. Everyone in the group knew that this was a forbidden demonic technique within their sect. The rest of Wom Kidney and the chaos was to send those disciples to Bai Quan for treatment. Although we received the news from the informant, knowing the culprit, I still feel uneasy. However, in terms of overall strategy, we are too far apart. Excluding Bak Kai, they have more than 2 ultimate masters, making it difficult to defeat them. If it's just ultimate masters, then perhaps Vom Dat and I can join forces to overcome them, Cat I had suggested. Thank you. However, being involved in this matter is extremely dangerous. Yet at that moment, he showed no signs of fear even when facing those dangerous demonic sect swords. Right now, shall we advance and attack Thien? Does he have other plans? Of course, we've already prepared thoroughly. After hearing all this, Thien's followers still didn't believe because of Lin Fa's tone. It sounded too familiar, but Thien Pham managed to deceive them with a few tactics that left them bewildered. Could that guy really change his voice tone? Tran Dai appeared angry for being tricked. Damn it, you deceitful bunch, using what demonic arts to toy with us like this? After speaking, he angrily rushed towards another teammate, fully aware that it wasn't proper, but the opponent wasn't Thien Pham, so there was no need to be cautious. Even if Congo fought, he couldn't win against Thien Dai. Tran Dai continuously used sword energy to attack the opponent, but he couldn't inflict any damage, even though it was just a piece of cloth on the protagonist. How could he block my techniques so easily? Thien Pham dodged and casually took away the winning card. So you were just pretending to exhaust it, then take the important thing. Now it's mine. It turns out he was just trying to tire it out to take the important thing, so it's no longer effective. Therefore, the opponent immediately retaliated with a powerful punch deep into his chest, causing his body to flip backward. His mouth began to bleed, and basic physiological reactions began. Blood vomiting. The teammates who were standing by rushed over now. How could a supreme master like me struggle against one of his moves? I was planning to attack a few more times when Nano warned of a powerful energy source from behind Thien Pham. He defensively checked his surroundings. Everyone, lie down now. Although they didn't know what it was, the group followed the Lord's orders. Fortunately, almost causing harm to the members, they knew the young lord of the demonic sect was up to mischief. He ran over to protect the disciples, causing fear among everyone. Who could have caused this chaos? He gradually revealed himself amidst the dust, speaking insidiously. Now you know, Thien Hu Thien. You thought you could surprise me now, but it's too late. I'm waiting for your counterattack, not wanting to be seen as playing dirty. A few days ago, when I encountered it at the Luyan, that Kong, its personal strength was no small matter. With such a rapid increase in speed, it's unbelievable. Originally, that day I should have cut off its arm before the gap in martial arts between us became too wide. The subordinates of the Thien school realized that their master was now seriously fighting. If you lose to him, forget about contending for the position of sect leader. Both remained silent, looking at each other, waiting. Because of the frenzy, the demonic sect's young master was proactive in his actions, disappearing from view, catching Thien Pham off guard. He suddenly reappeared in front and unleashed the Phantom Demon Dao, combining the power from various techniques of the demonic sect. It was no less formidable than the Vu Dao technique of his master. His strength was extraordinary, so hiding it when fighting someone stronger was foolish. I should have used sword techniques to fight him. What is this madman doing? Do you think you can defend against this move with ordinary sword techniques? My blocking technique isn't as simple as that. His sword energy began to transform unpredictably. Thien Pham barely managed to see that tiny detail. The strength seemed to have some kind of direction, and countered with very lethal strikes. This caused the protagonist to be thrown backward, much to the delight of his subordinates. For Thien Pham, he remained silent, not daring to crow anymore. Although he knew how to break his technique, he didn't expect the change in attack angle midway to be so sinister. Moving into that attack will put a lot of pressure on his arm. But looking at his right arm, he must have cultivated extremely vigorously from that point. Considering this, he seemed to be slightly more effective than me. With his level, he should be able to fight a first-rank sect leader. In a way, you're lucky. I was going to ask for one of your arms just now. Why don't you stick to your clumsy sword techniques and use the familiar Vu Dao technique? How can you be sure about that? Don't think I don't know what sword technique you're using. How does this guy know how to counter my sword skills with the Thon Gok Thatch technique? Thien Hu Thien actually doesn't know and is just confusing it with the Seven Devils sword. Fortunately, he still hasn't figured it out yet. I warn you in advance, I'll only use the 5 elements. If you continue to use that cumbersome sword technique, just 5 moves and I'll send your right arm flying. If that's the case, let's go fishing. You're not as strong as you boast, saying I can't stand against you after learning 5 French techniques with that clumsy sword. Why don't you have the courage to challenge me once? If so, then state your conditions. If I win, you must hand over all your playing cards for me to see. After hearing this, Hu Thien burst into laughter due to his excessive ambition. My cards have 4 aces, so what will you offer in exchange that's worthy of them? If you lose, your best subordinate will serve as compensation for this fishing game. Indeed, this guy still refuses to give up his intention to snatch the 18th position. He's afraid and also looks towards the Lord. Will this be all right with him? His face is now overly confident. Indeed, Bak Kai also doesn't dare to trust the Lord entirely. In the end, he nods in agreement. This round of betting isn't bad at all. Let's get started. This time, I'll let you go first. You seem quite confident, don't you? Thien Hu Thien reminded not to babble anymore and focus on the profession. After both parties agreed, they actively engaged in attacking each other. Naman still maintains his techniques and tactics. You foolish Dan, you will lose everything due to your stubbornness. I have read the Lost Demon Sword Technique manual more than 100 times to deal with various martial arts masters. So I have grasped all the weaknesses of the sword technique you are using. However, your mysterious Taoist techniques seem ineffective against my 4th technique, and you still can't gain any advantage. I have successfully dispelled his Taoist energy using my sword energy to attack directly. Both opponents flew around, creating very fast movements. This is truly the lost demon sword I read about. Its techniques become stronger and harder to block. This is not good. If this continues, I will lose. Thien withdrew far to avoid being affected by his sword energy and continued to use his inherited martial art, the illusory demon saber technique. But as he was swinging, the protagonist appeared from nowhere. I lost my mind. How could he move so fast? Now is the time when the entire advantage of the battle belongs to Thien. Thien didn't know how to fight back anymore. In his mind, he was only curious about the opponent's speed, but Thien remained cold to release successive sword energies. Next, he punishes all the vulnerabilities of his opponent. All the techniques were quickly severed, followed by the most important positions on the body. He hacked at his opponent like chopping bananas. Thien couldn't control the situation. A sword had pierced straight into his right arm, the main force of his attack. Blood splattered everywhere. The confident gaze he once had disappeared completely. This was the moment that decided the outcome of the battle. Thien coldly looked at the enemy and didn't hesitate. He immediately severed his opponent's arm. So the battle was practically leaning towards another side. Despite his indifferent appearance, he was actually a rare genius in martial arts. Since joining the Devil's Sect, he had reached the pinnacle of martial arts. After some cultivation time, he had reached the level of a superlative master, making martial arts enthusiasts admire him endlessly. Some even willingly devoted their lives to him. Now, they regretted that he encountered Thien, so the game ended like this, causing Thien to scream in pain, his consciousness slipping away due to severe pain. He no longer bothered to make it difficult, because he had won. His younger brothers were standing there, not understanding how their boss could end up like this. It's really absurd that just one move could defeat a talented person. He lost too much blood, so he had to acupuncture himself to stop the bleeding before adjusting his painful state. The martial artists were eager to rush forward to rescue, but Trandai stopped them because he knew that Thien was still standing there. If you take another step forward, I won't hesitate to cut off his remaining arm. All of you, listen to me, back off immediately. When they obeyed his command, he continued, Well, now that the deal has been executed, let's go. Thien finally spoke up. How did you manage to perform such a high-level technique with just an ordinary lost demon sword? Is your intention to trivialize my family's supreme sword technique?